What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 2 stream for the Honda Classic. Today was an absolute ball. In the morning, we got our guys to go out there, especially some of the core plays, to go out there, play pretty well. JT Post and the one guy that couldn't bring it along. And then in the afternoon, we got that patented carnage that we get year in and year out at the Honda to come in and sweep a few chalky guys off the board. So pretty good start for DFS over there on the prop side. Hit at about a 75% clip in round 1. So overall, liking how the week has started and hopefully looking to build on that here throughout the weekend. So in this stream, going to break down everything you need to know, whether it's for DFS or on the prop side tomorrow. I'll go over any of your questions. We'll start it off with a look at the golf course, the weather for tomorrow, so we know what to expect from the venue. So we know, what kind of players to target. And of course, that's extremely important for the prop side. And then the last two things we'll go through is first off, we'll go through the DFS board, and then afterwards going to go through props. So if you're new here, this is your first live stream. First off, welcome here. If you're watching this on replay, welcome as well. You guys are all part of the crew as well. We love our live crew, but we always love the guys that are watching on replay as well. That'll be the schedule. So what's going on, GameCube? We got the live crew down there in chat. What's going on? Steven, Mr. Space Lee, MJ, James Romanowski with just the extremely kind words. Gotta love it. He says, no one puts out content in the industry like this guy does. We owe a great deal to me. I'd say I owe a lot to you guys, right? You guys give me the ability to go out here, do this content, and to go out to golf events like today and make it my quote unquote job, right? To go out there, watch, scout the course, report back to you guys. I can't thank you guys enough. So I'll throw it back to you. I appreciate you though. Let's get this thing started. So the most important thing I think we need to touch on is the course, because this afternoon, there's a breaking development with PGA National. It started to play like PGA National in the afternoon. So in the morning, it played slightly easier than we're used to seeing. And I was kind of bummed out by that. The greens were running slow. They looked like they were running at like 11s. The rough, of course, is non-existent, like I was talking about yesterday. But the greens were especially easy. They were, spongy in the morning. It was like going out there putting on 11s over there at like a coastal track. And the guys took advantage. Right? You had Billy Ho shoot 5 under, right? Jason Bramlett, not Jason, it's Joseph Bramlett go out there, shoot 5 under par. In fact, of the top 5 scorers, all of them, except for Carson Young, right, who's yet to finish his round, played in the morning wave. Outside of that, a majority of the guys there at like 3 under par, like Moronk, I believe he might have been a PMT time. Same thing with Eric Cole there, but a lot of the guys like Tyler Duncan played in the morning wave. I know Wallace was also a PMT time. So there's a few of them mixed in, right? Like Duncan was mixed in. Like I said, Carson Young there at -4, but a vast majority, right, of the top 20 here, of the guys tied for 14th or better, were playing in the morning. That's reflected in the scoring average. You see up here, there's about a shot, actually about a 1.2 shot difference between the two waves. And I think it's something we have to pay attention to. When you're down here in Florida, you get this effect on every golf course. The greens get significantly firmer throughout the day. That happens at pretty much every golf course, but in Florida, it tends to happen a little bit more. As somebody that literally plays in Florida 4 or 5 times a week, I can tell you that's the case. In the morning, you're able to go out there, throw darts. I can back up a 6-iron from time to time. Literally, it's that soft in the morning in Florida, that conducive to going out there and spinning golf balls. You saw guys on hole number 1, especially there in the first, I'd say hour and a half, 2 hours of tee times, spinning balls off the front edge. And in fact, in the PM wave, when you weren't getting all of that spin, it actually played easier. Hole number 1 played to a better average in the PM. So I think it's actually reflected on here, right? Yeah, in the PM, look at this. It played to a lower scoring average, which every other hole is the exact opposite, right? But that just tells you how much firmer the greens were. So that's part of the effect of why it played harder in general in the afternoon. Now, one was a kind of crazy example because it was a front pin, right? Also the first hole. So all the guys that were playing it early in the morning were on extremely receptive greens. But this course, so the effect that you had today, right, as it dried out throughout the day, is just going to happen throughout the week, right? So tomorrow, right, it's going to start a little bit firmer than it was on Thursday, and it's going to dry out throughout the afternoon. Then on Saturday, right, it's going to be even firmer at the start of that day, and then it's going to dry out even more so throughout the weekend. That's something that you see at this course, and it already started here early on a Thursday. So that's why I wanted to point it out, is that's an effect on pretty much every Florida track, but particularly at a course that's known for running super fast. Today, in fact, I was following Ryan Palmer's group. Honestly, he was playing with, I think, Horschel, forget the other guy he was playing with. They were one of the featured groups on ESPN Plus. Mark Immelman was talking to him down the fairway, and they were talking loud enough where I could hear. And he was just complaining about the greens. He was like, the greens are never this slow. We're not used to this out here, you know. And I think he even said something along the lines of like, it's not hard enough for the Honda Classic, is what he said to Mark Immelman. And, you know, that's why I like to see it firming up throughout the afternoon. So, you know, obviously he was a morning tee time. He had to go out there and play when the greens were a little bit slower. But tomorrow, I would expect them to be a little bit quicker, kind of like you saw this afternoon, and there to be a significant advantage to going to the morning guys. So if we look at the weather here, so I actually want to go over here to Willy weather, okay? In the morning wave, you can see they actually had higher sustained winds, right around like 8:53. They had 16 miles an hour of sustained winds. You can see there's peaks at like 13.8, peaks at like 12.7 right around noon. And in the afternoon, it doesn't get much higher, right? 13.8 once again, actually 11.5 when you start getting closer to 5 p.m. So if anything today, the weather was actually slightly better in the PM wave than it was in the morning wave, yet conditions were almost actually a little bit more than a shot harder. It was not because of the weather. The wind, it did kick up a little bit, I have to say. It felt like it at least right around like 3 p.m. I was standing in one of the sky boxes, the one there in 16, 17, and it felt like it got slightly more windy, but you know, they're having that on Wind Finder here. Actually, sorry, this Willy weather at 12.7 miles an hour, right? What is it at like 2:35, 13.8 miles an hour? They had it even higher at 8:53 a.m. So I'm going to trust their judgment, you know, opposed to actually what I felt there in person. And if that was the case, right, tomorrow, when we're actually expecting the morning wave to have lower winds than the afternoon, it could be an even bigger split. Instead of just being a 1.2 shot difference, maybe it ends up being an entire shot and a half difference. Either way, even if it's going to be consistent from what we saw there on Thursday, it's what, a 1.2 shot difference. You would be crazy to go out there and not play the guys from the AM wave. So just to take a look at the wind, you can see in the morning, it's between 2 and 3 miles an hour. In the afternoon, it gets a little bit more severe, kicks up to 7 to 8 miles an hour of sustained winds. The wind gusts, though they don't get higher than 10 miles an hour, are significantly higher than the 2 to 3 miles an hour mark that you see over there in the morning. Going over to Willy weather, in the morning, they have the winds extremely low, right close to 3.4 miles per hour. In the afternoon, kicking up a little bit more, getting into that 8 miles an hour range. They have it at close to 9 miles an hour when they'll be finishing up play. So I don't know, that's not a massive difference, right? That's like a 5-6 mile an hour difference there. What I'm more worried about are the greens firming out. Like we've talked it about exhaustively at this point. So in terms of the player pool, I think that you do want to target guys playing in the morning. I mean, at pretty much any golf course, right? When we're playing round 2 showdown, we want to try and target leveraged players, right? Low owned, high upside players that are playing in the morning conditions, because they're going to have receptive greens, or at least slightly more receptive than what they're going to have in the afternoon. And then, of course, more pristine greens. So all of that holds up, and particularly so when, you know, Willy weather is calling for the higher winds in the afternoon. And same thing over here on the Windy app. They have, you can see closer to like 9 miles an hour of sustained winds in the afternoon, wind gusts between like 8 and 11 miles an hour, as opposed to between 2 to 2.9 miles an hour in the morning. So like I said, a pretty stark difference between what it's going to look like there between like 6 to 8 a.m. and opposed to, let's say, like 4 p.m. So let's hop over to the player pool now. Let's catch up on chat, see if there's any comments to cover before we go into it. And as per usual, guys, round 2 showdown tends to be one of the larger edges to be had. So we'll talk about the strategy. We'll talk about ownership, how you should be handling certain types of contests. And on here, you can see the points, player pool, and ownership are going to be blacked out. As per usual, those are on my Patreon page, but don't be afraid, right? We're still going to talk about a few guys I like. I'm still going to give you a few plays that I'm getting to. But if you're looking for all the data, right, to make it a little bit easier, of course, it's on there. So I got to bribe you to get there somehow, right? Let's see what's going on. Mondo says, always good to get your input. You're a member of the Battle A fan club. Yeah, I watched them today, too. I was watching them on the range the other day. I swear, when I'm watching them, I feel like people think I'm like related to him or something because I've got the long locks going as well. But yeah, I love that you're also a part of the Battle fan club. Love it. You said decent day today, didn't shoot himself out of it. Morning tea time tomorrow. EVR killed you though. So yeah, I didn't play EVR in my full round contest. Thank God. I did play him over there on Prize Picks to make the cut because he was like minus 188 to do so. In fact, I think he had like the best odds of anybody on the Prize Picks board to make the cut. So I jumped on that, which that's not going to come through. I mean, but he'd have to shoot like 5 under par to make the cut tomorrow. Not happening. But yeah, good to see Battle playing well, right? Decent value play down there. Eric Cole, he had that lucky eagle that I actually saw in person there. That chip-in was just, I mean, I don't know. Chip-ins to me are pure luck. I mean, I tend to do it quite often. And as an amateur, if I'm going out there and chipping in, it's lucky, right? It's not skill there. But yeah, Battle, I like the play. He's got to make the cut, though. I have him on Prize Picks, too. Hollis says, hope you're having fun watching golf out there. I am. It's a lot of fun. 16-17, it's a Thursday, and they're already having fun out there. They're giving golfers a hard time. They're betting on when people get up to the tee box. They're betting on who gets closest to the hole. It's a lot of fun. And tomorrow, my brother, a few buddies are coming, and then my parents are coming too. So there's going to be like a whole gang there. And then on Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to have like 20, 30 people there. I know. That's when like all the like normal people will be going to the Honda Classic. Only the golf hardos were there today, right? It was a Thursday. People normally working right there on a Thursday. And it was raucous out there on 16-17. I mean, it was already getting borderline like rowdy and out of hand out there. And again, it was a freaking Thursday at like 2 p.m. I can't imagine what it's going to look like tomorrow out there, let alone on Saturday and Sunday when they end up getting about twice the crowd they get on Thursday, Friday. Going to be pretty fun. That's for sure. All right, so let's talk about the strategy here. So we're going to go through DFS first. Afterwards, we're going to go through the prop side. So if you're looking for props, just hang around for a little bit. We'll be going through that in about 15 minutes. But a lot of what we talk about right here is going to be extremely helpful for that side as well. So in terms of your strategy for round 2 showdown, I'll remind you of a few things. First off, placement points aren't a thing, right? In round 2 showdown, it's all about just your pure scoring, right? The birdies that you make, scoring streaks, going out there making bogeys, right, is going to take away from your score. It's that kind of slate, right? Not like a Sunday showdown where you're going to be getting placement points depending on your position on the board. Another thing to consider is that all of the ownership in round 2 showdown centers around the guys that played well in round 1. And what we know about 1 round sample sizes are that they're extremely volatile, right? So, Billy Horschel, Sungjae Im, who was already mega chalk going into this week, even Shane Lowry going to get some respect for the -2 start. Adrian Meronk at -3, Joseph Bramlett there at -5. All of these kind of players are going to be by far the highest owned, right? They're going to be the chalk. It's obvious. You can see it coming from a mile away because the people that are casuals that play PGA DFS, they see somebody go out there, shoot -3 or -5, and they're completely sold it's going to happen again. And I can tell you that this is the case because a lot of my buddies, that's how they try and make their DFS lineups. And I have to try and tell them not to do that, right? And when you're looking at any sort of prop analysis, right, if you're just going on like any sort of Discord where they're trying to talk about props and it's casuals trying to do that analysis, the only thing they're going to bring up is, oh, he covered it yesterday, right? He shot a 69 yesterday. He also shot a 69 on Thursday. So he's going to do it again, right? Or my favorite is when they look at last year's stats and they go, oh, well, he covered it in 3 out of 4 rounds. My favorite is when they do it with like the winner, right? They go to like Sepp Straka and they go, oh, well, he covered the line in 3 out of 4 lines. Well, no shit, right? He was last year's champion. You'd hope the champion could cover a few prop lines over there in a 50-50 kind of situation. So I would just say when you're trying to go over here and do this kind of analysis, just know that the casuals are going to flock to the solid performances, right? Whether it's on props, whether it's over here on DFS, and you can take advantage of that. That's why I said earlier, I think round 2 showdown has one of the larger edges to exploit because it's so predictable. Round 4 showdown, the same thing, right? It's actually even more so. For round 4 showdown, it's even more polarized than what you see here for Friday, but it's still an edge to be had. The thing is with round 4 showdown, right, is it's kind of deserved, right? The guys that are higher owned, you get placement points, right? Like you get 12 points for first place, like they should be higher owned. The thing is for round 2 showdown, there's no reason to be higher owned, other than the fact that maybe you're in form, right? But if you're going to be like twice as owned as you probably should be, obviously that's not worth you being in form, right? Like being in form is like a little boost to your projection there, a little bit of a boost to your upside as well, but it's not making you twice the play. So that's the idea there. So with that being said, who are going to be the low-owned pivots that you can take? So I want to point out a few here. One's going to be Chris Kirk, and he's not my favorite play up top, but if you're looking for the lowest owned player, I would say from like $9,600 and above, it's no doubt going to be Chris Kirk. And now Denny McCarthy is going to be essentially unowned, but he also shot +5, right? Chris Kirk still had a respectable round in by far the most difficult conditions. So his -1 doesn't really look as good as it was in reality. I mean, same thing with Sun Jian. His -3 finish was like shooting -5, -6 in the morning wave. Chris Kirk getting to -1 was like him shooting -3 or -4 in the morning wave. So, and I know it was like a shot and a half difference, but the ceilings were so much harder to come by, right? Like I said, all of those top 5, actually of the top 6 scores, 5 of the 6, right, were in the morning wave. So that's why I say that. So somebody like Chris Kirk, I think, is going to get squeezed here because we know that Sanjay is going to be like 40% owned plus, if not closer to 50% in some of those single entries. Shane Lowry, because he played well, I'm expecting him to be about 25% owned. And below him, Minwoo Lee got a bunch of attention in main slates. I actually thought he might be closer to like 17%, but he came in extremely chalky, at least in the $5 GPP. And Billy Horschel, I mean, after shooting 5 under par, right, he's your leader at this point. He's going to be mega chalk, right? He's going to be over 20% now after being one of the pivots going into the week. So easy fade on Billy Ho, right? I hope he plays well. I have an outright bet. It's a really large one too. Like I said, I nuked that as soon as I saw him there at 30-1. Anytime I see a disrespectful number, I go out there and I usually hammer it. And so I hope he plays well. But in round 2 showdown, no thanks, right? Like he was 10% owned this week. He was like a pivot up top, and now he's going to be one of the higher owned guys. Just no thank you, right? I'll wait until he's lower owned there on Saturday. Same thing with Minwoo. Like if you played him going into the week, great. But I think that he's a better play, I have to say, just because Minwoo is not going to be like 25% owned, right? He's not going to be like Shane Lowry's ownership. He's not going to be 40% owned with like a Sun JM. So if you still want to play Minwoo, I completely understand it. But he is getting some ownership. He's much higher owned than Chris Kirk. I can say that. So if you're looking for that pivot, it's Chris Kirk. But your second lowest owned would probably be a Minwoo Lee. Outside of that, you have a few low owned, and it's for a reason, low owned guys down here in the bottom end of the 9K. That would be a Matt Kuchar, a Thomas Dietrich, and JT Poston. These 3 players are going to be like 2 to 5% owned. I mean, in Kuchar's case, he's probably going to be like 4%. Dietrich's might be like 5-6% because people recognize the talent level. But JT Poston, right, you're looking at, sub 5% ownership. So if you want to take a Sanjay M, and even if you want to take Sanjay M plus, let's say, a Shane Lowry in the same lineup, you can easily do it if you just mix in one of these sub 5% players, right? Let's say it's a JT Poston, but he's PM wave, so I don't like it necessarily as much. Maybe you take the Thomas Dietrich, right? $9,200. He's +6. We know he has to shoot like -4 to make the cut. Maybe -3 there at +3 ends up making the cut. But either way, if you're going to take one of these top end chalky players or even 2 of them in the same lineup, you have ways to differentiate yourself here. So like I mentioned, those 3 players, Harris English, right, going to be royally underowned. Let's see. Robbie Shelton, if you wanted to play him, you could get there. Cameron Davis going to be relatively overlooked. Same thing with Aaron Rye. That's why I like round 2 showdown, because it's so predictable. You can build lineups knowing that guys are going to be super chalky, just knowing that you can also take players that are going to be like sub 5%, right? You can make up for it because it's so predictable. So just treat your lineups that way. When we get to the lineup builder, we'll talk about that once again, but hopefully that gives you an idea. Let's see, Thomas Dietrich withdrew. Okay. I didn't know that actually. When did you do that? Was that recent? Let me look at the good old Twitter over here. It was probably recent, right? Obviously, when I left the golf course, he was still in the field. He was actually still finishing up his last hole. Yeah, that was 7 minutes ago. Figures. Okay. I'll throw the link down there in chat in case anyone hasn't seen it and needs to confirm it for themselves. But do not play Thomas Dietrich, right? Obviously, if he withdrew, probably not the best idea. But another great candidate, right, would just go to Kuchar, right? Kuchar, same kind of situation, has to go out there, shoot a low score to make the cut. Makes plenty of sense. You agree that nobody puts out content on my level. I appreciate that, man. You were in the hospital, so round 2, you're tailing like a robber. Yeah. Hopefully you're feeling well there, man. I know you said that the other day. Wishing you the best with that. But glad to have you back, right? Full go out here. Let's get it for round 2. So love it, man. I appreciate the kind words once again. Barry says, what to do with 50% ownership with Sanjay? I would fade it. So if I didn't make it clear there, right, kind of going through the ownership, all of these guys that are going to be way over-owned, I'm fading. That would be Sanjay. That would be Billy Horschel's an obvious fade. Even like Shane Lowry, because he's a PM golfer, is a relatively straightforward fade. Let's see. I don't know, Moronk even, right? Because he's going to be, actually, is he a PM wave golfer? I need to confirm that with Moronk, because I feel like I was watching him in the PM, but maybe he was just finishing up later because he was one of the later tee times. I'm going to look that up and confirm it real quick. So let me check that. If Moronk is a PM tee time, then, I mean, he's an obvious fade. I'm fading him regardless because of ownership. But if he's in the PM wave, like my spreadsheet indicates, which I have to think is right, I usually don't make many mistakes on there. But let's double check it. He would be an even more obvious fade if that's the case. Moronk, where you at? Yeah, he's a PM tee time. So yeah, I mean, high ownership. He's going to be 20% owned plus. Sanjay M, pretty obvious fade. Yeah, that's the idea there. So yeah, shouldn't be surprising. 50% owned plus play, I'm not taking. And even for 4-round contests, somebody today sent me a tweet and was like, "Ooh, how's that Sanjay fade going?" Great. He's not the optimal play up top right now, right? So if you're out there victory laughing Sanjay, like that clown was there on Twitter, I know no one in the chat is doing that because you guys aren't morons like this kid on Twitter. He was like, "Oh, the Sanjay fade's not looking too good." I'm like, yes, it is, right? Billy Horschel is kicking his ass as of right now at a cheaper price and third the ownership, right? I would much rather have a core play on a guy like that than a 38% owned Sanjay M. So I just had to throw that out there because I thought that guy, he cracked me up. I read the comment and I literally chuckled out loud. Garrett says, first time you're actually watching live and not recorded and love the content. Yeah, like I said, we enjoy, we welcome all the guys that are watching on replay too, but we love to have you even more so live. So I love to see it, Garrett. Welcome on in. Fixa says, I swear they need to have bets who's going to be at the bottom of the leaderboard. You tend to pick them all. I mean, they have 2 miss the cut parlays. Actually, that's kind of what I was kind of talking about yesterday. People are talking about like these 2 make the cut parlays. I was like, why not do these 2 miss the cut parlays? Because at the Honda Classic, like McCarthy, right? Dietrich, right? Obviously he withdrew. You wouldn't get the missed cut there, unfortunately. You'd end up getting a refund. But like you could have just scattered shot it up top and easily hit like a bunch of guys at like 2-3 to 1 to miss the cut. And even when there's like elite guys like Justin Thomas in the field, like Rory, which they haven't played this event in like 5 years, you could have scattershotted those guys to miss the cut at like 10 to 1 odds and hit them at like, I don't want to say like a 50-50 rate because obviously they're going to make more than half their cuts. But like, I don't know, at like a 33 to 40% rate, you're hitting 10 to 1 bets. That's why I love this event. So Figsta, you might want to look into those next time. My book that I have access to doesn't offer them, unfortunately. But I know a lot of the big ones do, right? So if they're offering those 2 miss the cut parlays at this event or any sort of difficult course, API next week, by the way, another great course to go out there and put out that kind of parlay. It's not a bad idea. Poston taking it low tomorrow. I hope so. So yeah, speaking of Poston, great little segue here. Let's go through this 9K range because I feel like there's going to be, obvious pieces of chalk like a Moronk, like a Joseph Bramlett, but there are high upside plays like English that I'm now willing to get to. And guys, I hate Harris English. I just have to say, he kills me on Prize Picks. I feel like every single time I take him, and I finally got my revenge today. He went under on greens. We took the under there. Thank goodness, right? Getting back on track. But for round 2 showdown, I don't think he's the worst play because he went out there. He still hit 11 out of 18 greens, which for Harris English, believe it or not, is actually pretty good. He's usually going to hit closer to like 8 or 9 greens around this golf course. And last week, he was number 1 in the field in shots gained putting, and he was top 3 in shots gained around the green. So while the ball striking wasn't there, he had everything else going. He's typically even better on Bermuda than he is over there on the West Coast. And at this event, though he hasn't played it the last 2 years, he's killed it here historically. So like Good old Harris English, no one's going to play him tomorrow after shooting +4, and he has to go low to make the cut. He's got to shoot at least -2 to make it. Ideally, I would say 4 the optimal because the conditions, pin locations look a little tough. I forgot to bring those up. We'll do it before we go into props because it's especially important for the prop side. But pins, they look pretty similar to round 1. I think that maybe like -3, maybe, but I would say -4 guarantees you a spot in the optimal lineup. But like -3 tomorrow from somebody $8,400, you're probably pretty satisfied with. And he's more than capable of doing so. And again, he has to get to at least -2 to make the cut. So I, again, like his chances. A few other guys you could take. Cameron Davis, well worth consideration. He played excellent today. He had one lip out that was from hell that I saw it out there. He looked so frustrated after it. It looked like it went under the hole in person and then spat back out. Now, I'm sure the TV camera, right, babe, probably gave you a better angle of what actually happened there. But, I mean, that's one stroke right there. But he should have at most been 1 over par. And then on top of that, he was under par to start his day. The ball striking was there. Even the around the green play looked like it was a lot better for Cameron Davis today. And he's another morning tee time. So like it's these high upside morning tee time players I'm getting to. And I know I talked about it earlier, but if you're just joining in now, I'm only playing AM golfers. So if they're playing in the PM wave, I'm just not interested. So like that's why like a Robbie Shelm, despite low ownership, I don't really like all that much. Hayden Buckley, same kind of thing, but he's actually getting some ownership. So I wouldn't really call him a pivot there. But just to give you an idea, like JT Poston, right? He's a PM wave golfer. That's the only reason that I don't love him. The only reason I'm not playing a bunch of them in GPPs. That's why I prefer getting to, I mean, before it was a Thomas Dietrich. Now I guess it's going to be a bunch of Matt Kuchar in this range. I mean, even Denny McCarthy, right? Denny McCarthy there at +5, another morning wave golfer. He has to take it to -3 or better to make the cut. And we're looking for that kind of score, right, to get into the optimal. So they have all the motivation they need to go out there and take aim at pins. And if they can execute that, well, they're going to pay off in your GPP lineup as well. So you like when those two things are lining up, right? A player's motivations and then your motivations over there for the GPP. I mean, there's certain times, right? Especially like when you're playing a round 4 showdown and a golfer's out to like a 5-stroke lead. Their motivation is to win the golf tournament, right? It's not to go out there and go low. So their motivation might be a little bit different than yours as the casual golf fan, right? That wants them to go out there and score fantasy points. Well, in this case, motivations line up. So that's why I like to point that out. Let's see. Julian says, my heart skipped a beat when you said your book. Okay. James says, hit the like button. Luke never begs or cries like others do. Yeah, you're not going to see me ask very much, not until like the end of the video. Because I figure, right, if you make it to the end of the video, I ask you to like the video, you're probably going to do so because right, you made it to the end of the video. But yeah, hey, if you ask for me, it makes it even easier. I love it, James. Appreciate you. Damon says, English has the highest projected strokes on Prize Picks. Already have some units on him and Cam Davis to make the cut. Both putt terribly today and have missed their current projections by 1 to 2 strokes. Yeah, I could see that. I haven't looked at the Prize Picks board yet, but what is he, like 71.5 strokes? Something like that? No, not even. Where's he at over here? 71.5 strokes. Shoot +1 or better. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the under over there, then yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, then might have to add a card there myself here in a little bit, Damon. So let me know if you see any other value. Let me lock that in. That might get bumped down. Who knows? All right. Anyways, let's move on to the 7K range. So in the 7K range, there's going to be a few super chalky players. So Will Gordon fits that description. SH Kim does too. I'm avoiding them because they're in the PM wave. Obviously, I played them in 4-round contests, so I hope they play well. But when it comes to upside, I think that getting to other low-owned players in the morning makes sense. Like Lee Hodges, right? He's going to be lower owned than he was for 4-round contests because of shooting +1 today. Now he gets the morning tee time. I mean, he was the hot commodity coming into the week. Now we get him at relatively low ownership. You got it like that. Let's see. So avoiding guys like Webb and Sig, right? The PMT time just isn't ideal. Aaron Baddeley. I know we got a Baddeley fan down there in chat. I think he's worth a few looks, right? Another morning tee time. Brandon Woo's at +1. We know that he's an exceptional player. always worth a few looks in a showdown format. If you want to get really cute down here, Russell Knox is +5. No one's going to play him, like literally nobody. Matthias Schwab, Sam Stevens will be like 0.1% owned. So if you're trying to go out there, just get like infinite leverage to the field on a player, those two guys are prime candidates. Dylan Wu, same thing. I actually kind of really like Dylan Wu tomorrow. He's one of my favorite plays in my player pool, actually. I'm avoiding Eric Cole. Just another one of those plays, right? And you can tell a lot of the guys I'm fading are guys that I played for this week that played well in round one, right? Like if I have exposure to these guys and they're like -2 or better, -3 with Eric Cole, -4 or 5, like a few of the guys at the top of the board, they're going to be chalky tomorrow, like 2, sometimes even 3 times as owned as they were for 4-round contests. Why would I play them at that kind of ownership level when I have them in my 4-round contest at like minuscule ownership levels, right? Like I might as well, and it's not really like a self hedge. I might as well just take the low owned guys now, right? That the only reason I avoided them for 4-round contests was because they were chalky, right? And now they're not chalky, right? So now I have no excuse not to play them. So that's essentially the idea and kind of how I play Showdown. That's kind of like my MO there. In terms of your 6K range, I didn't play a ton of guys down here. I really tried to pick my spots, and let's point out a few, like Malnati. So I was watching Malnati this afternoon, and literally the thought occurred to me, and I was like, I'm playing this guy in Showdown tomorrow because he was over par at one point. He battled back to slightly under. He bogeyed a hole, and in between holes, he was happy as could be. Like he's going up to fans. He was signing stuff for them. Like he had just made like one of the sloppier bogeys that I'd seen. I think it was a 3-putt bogey. He didn't give a shit. And I don't know. Good things come to people that do good stuff, right? I believe in karma, that sort of thing. So maybe it's Peter Malnati's time, right? Of late, he's been striping it, right? Finishing in the top 25, and he's been doing it consistently. Like you don't see that from Malnati. We've never seen that from him. He's been around forever, right? He's won on tour before. He's had a bunch of top 5 finishes over the last, like say, like 5-6 years on the PGA Tour. He's never done what he's done over the last month, and he's in the 6K range. He played decently in round 1, and I have him projected for like 3% ownership, which is way, way too low. So like he's honestly, he's probably my favorite play tomorrow on the entire slate, like considering ownership, considering price tag, of course. In terms of raw projection, he's nowhere near my top projected play, but of course, considering those other factors, he jumps to the top of that board. Let's see. Not a bunch down here. Like I said, there's not a bunch of guys you can play. Like Robert Streb. I mean, if you're looking for somebody that fits the golf course that's going off early, that has upside, you could take him. He usually plays ball in windy conditions too. So if it gets a little bit gusty, he can definitely handle that. Nico Echeverria, another guy. Actually, I was walking around with him on the course for a little bit, and I thought to myself, I'm playing him tomorrow for Showdown. I was just watching him hit the ball, flushes it. The outfit was on point. The guy, best outfit of the day, no doubt about it. They obviously didn't show him on the broadcast. If they did, you guys would have definitely agreed with me. I probably should have taken a picture of it, honestly. It was, I don't even know how to explain it. It was a good outfit, good golf outfit. Like you could tell that somebody dressed him properly. And he's sponsored by the same guy as Cam Smith. And on that hole, he made a 35-footer like Cam Smith. And that's when it occurred to me. I was like, I'm playing this guy tomorrow in Showdown. He didn't play particularly well, right? He shot +4, but we've seen him make a few cuts, particularly here in 2023, ever since the new year. Made a few cuts early in the year, was a little bit inconsistent during the fall. But it's a $6,400 guy in a dog shit field. I mean, you're comparing them to legit, like borderline non-professional golfers, right? Guys that are only playing here because of past status. I don't know, like Monday qualifiers, right? That literally aren't professional golfers. Sponsors exemptions like Andrew Kozan that I've played golf with before, and literally been competitive with before, right? Playing out there on the golf course. By the way, there were people that talked him up as a value play this week. Like even I couldn't play him. Right? I've seen him play before. That's probably why I didn't play him. Yeah, I'm not talking shit. He's way better than me. I have to say that. But $6,300 Kozan, like you can avoid these amateurs, like the guys that are nobodies out here. And again, you're not a nobody, Andrew, but You know the deal. Curtis Thompson's like the kind of guy I do like getting to, though. So like instead of taking like a scrub, like Curtis Thompson was a legit tour player last year. He lost his card, but one of his best finishes on tour as a rookie was here at the Honda Classic. And in fact, I think he was a sponsor exemption into the field. So he's a local guy. I have to say that too. I've played golf with Curtis before. He's one of my buddies, my best friend. He's one of the really good buddies of Curtis Thompson. So I've played golf with him and Lexi before, and he's a flusher. He hits the ball like 340 yards. He's one of the longest players in the field. He doesn't really need that this week, but he's unbelievably familiar with the course. I mean, he literally lives like 20 minutes away from the course like I do. So I like these kind of guys for Showdown, right? Like that are legit golfers and have something going for them, right? I don't know. Andrew Kozan's like 20 years old. Actually, I think he's still 19 years old, right? Curtis Thompson's a grown fucking man, right? There's a difference between the two. That's why I'm getting into good old Curtis. No offense, Andrew. Going down to 6,100 or even $6,000. Brandon Matthews actually played well today. He was -3 at one point, but he's a PM Wave golfer, and he's been so bad on the tour ever since getting over here that I don't expect him to back that up. So I don't know. There's a few guys down here you can play. Like I said, Curtis Thompson. My favorite, right, has to be $6,700 Peter Malnati, right? Unbelievable play, right? He was top 10 in recent form coming into the week. But pick and choose your spots for DFS. Pick them wisely. Make sure they're AM golfers would be my recommendation. And I think you're going to have a solid round 2 Showdown. So let's hop over to the lineup builder now. We're also going to go over any last second questions you have for DFS. Then afterwards, we're going to get into prize picks. So let me bring up DraftKings. I actually don't have it up yet, so let me do that. I feel like a little slappy not having all my tabs up, but it's an easy fix. Already pretty much there. There we go. And let's see what we got in terms of questions. So what do we got down there in chat, boys? Let's find our last spot a little bit further back. JGA says, today was a shit show. What's the cut line going to be? Yeah, today is a shit show. Every day is a shit show at the Honda Classic. So if you're talking about the scores, man, that's going to literally be every round. That's just this golf course. So yeah, when you look at the cut line over here, I mean, let's see what Data Golf has it at. I'll give you my opinions afterwards. They have it at +1. Okay, vehemently disagree with this. So they have it staying at +1. I can't see that happening, right? As of right now, the cut is +1 already, right? So it's already there at +1. And tomorrow, we have a whole day of play left, right? To go out there, make bogeys. And the scoring average historically around PGA National is over 1 over par, right? It's 1.34 over. It was already getting slightly firmer out there today. I mean, yeah, I think it's at least going to be +2. If for some reason these wind conditions are wrong, so let me refresh the wind finder here. Still says essentially no wind. Let me refresh Willy weather. Always a good thing to do, right? These projections change quite a bit. Still low winds. And let's check windy app. Yeah, windy app pretty much still has no wind out there. So if the no wind forecast holds up, +2 is like almost guaranteed going to be your cut line. But if it ends up getting windy, right, and the meteorologists are full of shit, right? We know this, right? It could get windy tomorrow afternoon. If that's the case, +3 is definitely in play too. The cut line at this event is at least 2 under par every single year, if not closer to 5 or 6 over par. And I meant over par. It's usually at least 2 over par, if not closer to like 5 or 6 over. So yeah, man, it's going to be a hefty cut line. Like if Dietrich didn't withdraw, like he could legitimately have still made the cut. Like if it got windy tomorrow, that's just how the event works. That's just how it works there. Alejandro says, do players at -5 at the end of round 1 have a good chance to be top 10 at the end of the tournament? Of course they do. But I would say just ignore the score thing, right? Ignore the fact that they're -5, right? I would say that guys that are in the top 10 right now have a lower chance at finishing top 10 at this event compared to others, right? Like if they were top 10 at the Genesis after round 1, a lot of guys fall off. It's a hard course, right? It's volatile. When you don't have your game around Riviera, you tend to not play well. It's the same thing here. So just because you're in the top 10 after round 1 really doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of opportunity to eject. So Alejandro, if you're talking about trying to bet guys to potentially top 10, with that kind of idea, I would heavily guard against that. I probably wouldn't do it. Derek says, glad you're enjoying the in-person action, getting you more hyped for the API. I'm thinking of going there too, Derek. So I'll at least be there for Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to go up there for the weekend, but I'm considering getting a hotel and just staying up there Thursday through Sunday. So we'll see. I'm going to be out of town for 6 days for the players. I'm going up a whole day early so I can go there Wednesday for the practice round. I'm staying there through Sunday night so I can, me and my buddies, we're going to enjoy ourselves on Sunday. So we don't want to drive home that night. So we'll see. I'm thinking about going up there for the whole tournament because it's an elevated event, right? The players, we're going to get everyone to show up there, but you get the API too, right? So maybe I'll double dip. We'll have to see. Didn't see J-Jax's comment. Okay. Oh shit. I looked over your comment. My bad there. He said, I know round 1 is suspended and this might seem a little bit premature. But yeah, the cut line probably like, I'd say +2. Like, I don't know. If you had to make me pick one number, I'd say +2, +3 if things get a little bit harder. Damon says, interesting line. I think what might be cool to look at is Cam Davis to make the cut. So they actually have him to make the cut on there. Okay. We'll take a look at the props here in a second, but I forgot that they've been doing that, right? They've been adding guys after round 1 to make the cut. So they have Cam Davis on there, Davis Riley at +1, but Cameron Davis is +2, right? So he's 1 off the mark at this point. If he shoots even par, I think that'll end up making the cut. Yeah, we'll have to take a look. I know Aaron Rise at +2, so he's in that same kind of situation. Webb's +1. Well, they picked some pretty good guys for it. I'll say that. Like, they picked some pretty good 50-50 candidates. That's for sure. Let's see what's going on in chat before we hop into these lineups. Damon says, over gives you more value than the strokes under. Yeah, exactly. It does. That's why I like to compare those two boards. You're spot on there, right? Forbes down there in chat's my brother. What's going on, Forbesy? Adam says English or Bez. Ooh, it'd be English because of the lower ownership. I think they're similar plays in a vacuum. Frank says, should we target birdie or better again or strokes? Not sure, man. Again, I haven't looked at the board yet. It dropped about 10 minutes before the stream went live. We'll be reacting to it live here in a second. So we're still talking about DFS. Let's hop back into these lineups and go through first off our cash plays. So for cash, you got to play Sunjam. It's a no-brainer. I think you literally have to play the guy. In terms of this 8K range, you can get a little bit more creative. I think that Joseph Bramlett makes plenty of sense, but you could probably take another 8K option. So let's put Bramlett in there, and then let's go ahead and take Johnny Vegas because of the consistent course history. So that still leaves us with 73 remaining per player in the 7K range, right? You try and jam in at least one, maybe two more pieces of chalk. Let's see. Maybe like an Adam Shank. Ben Taylor is probably the player that I would prefer. I think he's the higher quality player at $6,700. If you wanted to play Peter Malnati, like I think it's okay in cash. Like he's been that consistent of late. I think in terms of points per dollar, like he's by far the best play here on Showdown. Another morning wave golfer. And another thing I guess you would focus on here is try and take morning guys. So Bramlett, you might not want to play, right? Because he's a PM golfer. I think Ben Taylor is also a PM golfer. So maybe you adjust this to try and only take AM guys. If you're doing that, let's see, here in the 8K range, you can get to like a Pendrith instead. You can probably take another lower 8K option. You can go there, let's say take Bazainhout, right? Another AM wave golfer. You can make plenty of lineups with this sort of build. Just take the AM guys, take the chalky players. And if you're going to try and differentiate, just only do it with one or two spots in cash. Now for GPPs, right, completely different thought process, right? Guys like Sunjam, they're going to be 50% owned. I don't really want to get to whatsoever. I'm more really looking for the guys that are going to get me that leverage. So Chris Kirk, like I said, the lowest owned guy out of those elite tier players, or even a Binwoo Lee, right? Who's going to be slightly lower owned than the rest of the bunch. Those are my two favorites up top. Let's put Minwoo in here just for the sake of the video. Let's put, let's go with Svensson and Pendrith. Let's go with both Canadians here in the 8K range. And the reason why I like starting a little bit more balanced here is we don't have to go into the lower 6K, right? Like I like Curtis Thompson at $6,300, but I prefer the guys in the 7K range. Like if I don't have to go down to that range, it's probably a good thing. It's probably best avoiding. But if we put a Malnati in here, again, I love him here for tomorrow. Let's find an 8K golfer to mix in. Let's let's go with you can go with Moronk, right? I think he's gonna be chalky. Let's go with English, right? Prefer him and round out your lineup with your favorite $7,500 golfer. So this is sticking to all the AM Wave golfers, but it's still considering ownership. Svensson, he's not super low owned, but he's going to be sub 10%. Pendrith is going to be sub 15%. Malnati, you're looking at about sub 5% ownership, and you're getting mega low ownership on a Harris English, and ideally, probably sub 5% ownership on your last player. So I wouldn't take a Willett, right? Willett's going to be like 8 to 10% owned. I would take a Harrington, right? If you liked him tomorrow, which I don't, I'm not playing him, but if you wanted to, right, he'd be a low-owned guy that you could take. Grayson Sig, going to be low-owned. You could take him. Just, you get the point here. So mix in at least 1 to 2 guys that are going to be sub 5%, and you can take pretty much whoever you want. Now, if you wanted to take Sanjay in a GPP lineup, and just for the sake of the video, let's exaggerate this. Let's go ahead and also put Moronk in there, 2 of the chalkiest players on the slate. Well, then you really have to get creative. So instead of only using like 2 pivots, this is where I think you need to be considering like at least 3. So let's find you a few of those players. Like English still holds as a pivot. You probably want to get even more different. So maybe you take a Jaeger now, right? He's going to be like sub 5%, maybe even sub like 3% owned. Down towards the 7K range, you know, a Aaron Baddeley, right? He's going to be sub 5%. And at $7,200, you want to take probably another pivot. So the opportunity cost of taking one of those top end guys in a GPP is that you really have to think about ownership with the whole lineup, right? Whereas if you fade a Sanjay M, right, like we were able to take Minwoo in a lineup and a Svensson and a Taylor Pendrith. I mean, heck, even if we wanted to, right, we could go down here and take a Christian Bezainhout. All of these guys are going to be over 10% ownership, but because we don't have a 50% owned Sanjay M in our lineup, we can get away with that, right? That's the difference. That's the power of getting away from those super high owned players. Let's see what's going on in chat before we hop into the props. The players equals hookers in cocaine. What? Not sure I understand that, to be honest. It's I mean, Jacksonville, pretty wild place, I have to say, but I don't know, man. It seems like a pretty classy place. I mean, Ponte Vedra Beach is like one of the more affluent places in the world, let alone in the United States. So not sure what you're talking about. It's not ratchet at all. Up there in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra Beach, it's about the opposite of that. I mean, like Jim Furyk lives there, and he's one of the quote unquote poors that lives there, and he's a professional golfer worth like $100 million. Steven says, obviously, Im is mega chalk, but is he an AM guy so he can be a play? Yeah, you can play him. But if you're going to play him, I'd probably lock him in every lineup. So Forbes is the legendary golfer you hear about. Yeah, he's my brother. We play golf all the time. Ghost says, hey, everybody. What's going on, Ghost? I kept looking at Luke pounding a beer in the background, but no luck. Hey, if you're on the Discord, I'll try and point myself out tomorrow. I was hanging at 16, 17 a lot. So if you're looking for me, look for the guys on 16, 17. I know they have a feed of the Bear Trap over there on ESPN Plus. They have the little chalet going on there. I mean, obviously, I'm hard to miss with the hair out there. That's where I'll be at for most of the day. How do you feel about Riley as your only afternoon player? Yeah, so like I have to say this, the PM stuff, you don't have to avoid them. Like you can still take guys like Riley. Like if you really want to take Davis Riley, by all means, right, go out there, play them. But make them rare, right? Like if you're going to take PM guys, like pick 3 or 4 of them. Like Davis Riley, a high upside player that can make a bunch of birdies, is the exact kind of guy you want to consider. And just to give you a few examples, like I'm not playing PM golfers, just for full transparency. I'm literally not taking any of them, but make sure they're low owned and make sure that they have upside, right? They're not just guys that consistently shoot -1 or -2, because in the PM, your upside is what is capped, right? The scoring average was 1.2 shots worse, but there were a ton of guys in the AM at the top of the board. But there were still guys that blew up in the morning too, but a lot more ceiling scores. So let's see, other than Davis Riley, let's see if there's any others that I would consider. I feel like the 8K range, like JT Poston, right? I guess it's technically 9K. They're at 9K flat. Like he'd be a guy I'd consider. He didn't play horribly today, truth be told. Hit the ball a lot better than he scored. Sepp Straka, right, returning champion. the kind of guy that's still playing the PM wave if you needed to. Hayden Buckley. Yeah, like, I don't know. Don't completely avoid the PM just because of the weather, but if you're playing 150 lineups, you probably should avoid the PM wave. And the only reason I say that is you just want to give yourself as many shots as humanly possible to hit the nuts. And the fact of the matter is, of the optimal 6 players, at least 4 of them are going to be AM wave, if not like 5, potentially even all 6 here tomorrow. So don't push your luck would be what I would say. Garrett says, you're mentioning PM quite a bit. You joined a little late. You're staying away from PM due to weather. Yeah, so the PM golfers, not ideal, I would say, dealing with slightly worse winds. So if you look at some of the wind forecasts, like 5-6 miles an hour higher. The Windy app over here agrees. Windfinder, same kind of thing. But today, the winds were flat, and you already had a massive difference between the waves. So I was talking about this a little bit earlier, but there was a 1.2 shot difference. And at least based on what Willy Weather says, at least what they like tracked today, it changed. You guys, earlier in the stream, I'm not crazy, right? Earlier in the stream, they had the actual recorded gusts at like 15 miles an hour. And now they're down at like 8-9 miles an hour, or like 5 miles an hour in the afternoon. But still, look, it holds up, right? Like in the morning, the gusts were like 5 miles an hour. Sorry, like 8 miles an hour. Misspoke there. Close to their projections in the morning. And then in the afternoon, like 1 p.m., right, it like calmed down, right? It got a little bit stronger there at like 2 p.m., which is like I told you guys earlier, right? I thought it felt like it got a little bit stronger at 2 p.m. when I was standing out there at the chalets. But in general, the PM wave got a little bit of a break early there, right? We can see that right around noon. It was a lot more severe earlier, right? Like I said, I'm not crazy. Earlier on the stream, it was saying it was like 15 miles an hour winds. It wasn't calling for this 5 mile an hour shit. But the point is that the morning wave had like the same conditions as the PM in terms of your winds, and it still played 1.2 shots harder in the afternoon. So tomorrow, when you're going to have the wind helping that cause, it might even be like a 1.5 shot difference. So that's why I'm really going after the morning guys. You look at the top end scores. The only PM wave golfer is Carson Young. They're at -4, and he still hasn't finished his round. So who knows where he finishes up. At -3, you have a few other guys that were quote unquote PM wave golfers today, but not a ton of them. So like Eric Cole was one of them. I think Matt Wallace was also a PM wave golfer today. But the guys at -4, right? 3 out of the 4 of them are guys that were AM, and then the 2 guys at -5 are both AM wave golfers. That's why I'm so adamant about getting to those guys. Eamon Van really sent you through a loop today. Yeah, Im played pretty well today. That's for damn sure. Honestly, though, he shot -3. He could have easily been over par. He made 9-foot par save after 9-foot par save. And at PGA National, that's not going to hold up. Like you just can't make all those 9 to 10 footers. They're exceptionally difficult putts. So we'll see if Im keeps it together. If he hits it like he did today, he's going to shoot like even par, like maybe 1 over par. And who knows if that's enough. So what was Sanjay's GIR? Hard for you to even find it. I have no idea. I didn't play it. 13. There you go. So Jonathan obviously played it. There you go. That's where the hookers go. You're saying to the players? Okay. Sure, yeah. All the hookers go to the players. Sure. I don't know, dude. You say some stupid shit. I'll just say that, dude. Players Championship, Ponte Vedra Beach, not a shithole. If you're looking for a shithole, you go to the events in Carolina. That's all I gotta say. Ghost says Wise killed the over 70 strokes with that eagle. Yeah, I didn't take his over 70 strokes. I actually played Wise in a lot of my lineups, so I liked that quite a bit. Actually saw that shot live. It was pretty sweet. Frank says you got to catch the pre-bumps and do them for sure. Yeah, 2 to 3 man cards. That's the way to do it. How was today's props? So 83% on Prize Picks, and we hit 67% over there in Underdog. So overall, I think it was 11-4, which is like a 73% hit rate. Pretty decent, right? Made money. I ended up having about 2.5x day. So usually that's the pretty good barometer for how we did. But in terms of actual hit rate, it was on par too, right around 73%. JGA says, what's the projected cut line? So I think it's going to be +2. So Data Golf does not agree. They have it there at +1, which I don't understand. It's already at a +1 cut line. The scoring average here is typically 1 over par. So, pretty simple math there. Says that you'd think it'd be a 2 over par cut line, but who knows? Data Golf has some smart guys over there doing their analytics, and they think it's going to be +1. So just keep an eye on that. Obviously, if conditions are a little bit more difficult tomorrow, this will change rather quickly, right? They'll adjust to this projection. My guess is, I mean, you can see the weather forecast they're looking at. They have essentially no wind in the forecast. So their model has to think it's going to be a lot easier tomorrow, but they're not accounting for the firmness. And over the years, like, even when this course has not been subjected to wind, it's still played about at least half a shot over par, if not closer to a stroke and a half over. So I don't know if they're correct there. I don't necessarily agree, to be frank with you. All right, let's hop over to the prop side now. So let's bring up prize picks and let's take a look at these categories. Again, this is my first look at the board. So I don't have any props that I've played yet, but we'll see if we can add a few here and add a few cards in. So actually, I'm going to have to log into my account too. I'm on my video, my content account out here. So we'll log out if we find a nuke to make sure we can do that. But let's see what we're working with. So they have Jeff Ogilvy on the board at 72.5. That's funny. The Harris English at 71.5. You know, the scoring average was over par today, but he's going off early. He was in the 8K range for pricing this week, right? Showing just how much people believe in the guy. I mean, an under on that is one of my first leans, right? I know Damon mentioned that a little bit earlier, and I tend to agree with him. I want to take a look at Underdog here too. Let's see. So Underdog did post their board. I just want to compare them, right? Because you want to take a look at the two boards to see where the more valuable props are. And just, do they have Harris English on here is, I guess, the question. They don't. They don't have English, but let's see. Is there a comparable player we can use? Webb, Denny's at 71. So yeah, let's see what Denny's number on Underdog is. So Denny's at 70, and they've got him at 71 on prize picks. So that's kind of been what prize picks and Underdog have done over the last few weeks, is that Underdog posts lines that are a little bit more favorable for players than prize picks. So if you're at a birdie fest, right, they're going to have guys at like 6 birdies as opposed to maybe like 5.5 over there on prize picks. And at a difficult course, right, maybe they'll have them at 3.5 birdies as opposed to 3 over there on prize picks. So that's not surprising. That's kind of what we've seen for a while now. So I still like this English under, right? 71.5. I mean, if he was over here in Underdog, he'd probably be like 70.5 strokes. So if you're going to take any unders tomorrow, I think prize picks is probably the place to take them, because they've clearly adjusted the board for the quality of play, right? For the golf course. They're the more sharp site, I would say, when they come to setting lines. So that's not a surprise whatsoever. Let's see. The guys at 3 make a lot of sense. It's a lot of guys that got bumped down yesterday that we took unders on. Of course, the unders on like Cooch hit, right? Unders on Denny McCarthy for birdies or better ended up hitting. So now they're there at 3. Nothing that really sticks out. If they had Aaron Wise at 3 birdies, that would have been the nuke of the century, but they knew better, unfortunately. So let's keep browsing here. Birdie better matchups. Not even going to waste my time on them. You guys know how much I hate that category. If you want me to go over any, feel free to go ahead and throw them down in chat. The green in regulation average is interesting. The greens were kind of receptive today. Like that's what I'm thinking, is they were softer than normal. So the green average was 11.45, which is about 0.1 higher than what you typically see at this event. They are going to get a little bit crunchier here on Friday, but for an elite tier player, right, they're projected below the average, right? So like, let's find an AM guy here that's an elite tier iron player, like Aaron Rye, for example. 11 greens regulation. I think I like the over here because, like I said, the greens were more receptive than most years. And even though they're going to be slightly harder tomorrow, Aaron Rye goes off early and has the most receptive greens, right? There's going to be dew on the ground. If anything, they're going to be slightly more receptive than they will for the PM guys. So truth be told, I don't hate that. Denny McCarthy goes off first thing in the morning. Actually, here's the issue, right? Is that Aaron Rye is a much more consistent iron player than Denny McCarthy. I mean, Christian Bezainhout, right? Another inconsistent iron player, right? We took his under on greens today. Funny enough, he had 11 today, and now they bumped him down to 10.5, and now he gets the better conditions tomorrow. So I don't know. Let's put Denny in there for now, but I still like the Aaron Rye over. I might end up taking it later on. We'll have to see. Even Bezainhout's catching my eye. And I have to say, if Aaron Wise was an AM Wave golfer, I'd be smashing him at 11 greens. he's one of the best iron players on tour, let alone one of the best iron players for this shitty field. So, I mean, even as a PM Wave golfer, I might take the Aaron Wise over because he's that good of an iron player. Like he's known for that. Let's see, holes played. I know Damon was talking about this over here. What do they have? Cam Davis is like 70 strokes, right? 71 strokes. So if he were to shoot one over, he would end up missing the cut, right? So that would be a push, but it would end up going under for holes played. Whereas if you took the over for holes played, right, all you'd have to actually, I think you'd rather use the strokes then, right? Because he's there at +2. Because even par hits for the strokes prop, and even par also hits for the make a cut prop, but +1 pushes for the strokes prop and probably misses the cut. So I would say this holes played prop, kind of like Damon was saying, is the one you want to go with. Actually, sorry, I'm saying that completely wrong. Doing that completely wrong. Sorry. Ignore what I just said. You'd want to take the under on strokes then, because if he shoots +1, he might end up missing the cut, but that might end up pushing there for that prop. So I'd take that. Let's see. Picking up DoorDash. Don't respond to that yet. What's going on down there? Aaron Wise versus Hayden Buckley matchup. Is that a write-up that you're doing? You're saying picking up DoorDash, don't respond to that yet? Gotcha. I'll wait. I see what you're saying now. You're saying you won't be back for like a minute. I'll wait on that. Don't worry. Let me know when you're back, Damon, and I'll answer it for you. I got you. Took me a second to catch up there. Again, we've had a few alcoholic drinks today. We're running at like an 8 out of 10 in terms of sharpness. JGA says you fuck with im over. Okay. So im over strokes, or you're talking about im over birdies? Go ahead and let me know. Got you. Yeah, you guys are laughing at me. I get that. Hey, like I said, I'm running at like an 8 out of 10. So 8 out of 10 for me is better than most people. So I'll take it. Don't try to talk shit, but it's true. I can get more shit done like this than I think most people can. All right. So we have 3 positive stances. When you're playing the Honda Classic, right, we've got to find a few fades. That's just obvious, right? The course plays hard as hell. Unfortunately, it kind of looks like Prize Picks is accounted for the course. Like I said, they adjusted it for how difficult it played today. It doesn't look like Underdog has. So maybe we take the fades on Underdog. We kind of avoid them over here. Because like at first glance, there's not anybody that I feel like super confident about fading. Like I faded Lowry and Sanjay today at 68.5 strokes, and both burned me, right? And now they're at 69 and 69.5. Like, do you think I'm really going to go back to them after getting burned at a better number today? Like, no, right? Are they probably going to go over? Yes, because it's the Honda Classic. It's a difficult course, but it's hard for me to justify, right? When I took them at 68.5 today and they didn't hit. So I don't know. I'd lean over on a few of those players. It's tough. I feel like this is priced appropriately. Even guys like Zach Johnson, like 71.5 is relatively spot on there. So let's look at birdies are better. Maybe there's better fades here. Like Kuchar, if he was 3.5, I'd fade him, but he's at 3 now. Not nearly as strong. Like Webb Simpson couldn't make a putt today. If he was at 3.5 birdies, I'd fade that, but he's also at 3 birdies. Yeah, it's not looking too great for the fades. They've accounted for the board pretty well. Let's look at holes played, actually. So this might be the move. So what we're going to do is look at Data Golf and compare their averages in terms of cut made to what we have here. So let's look at Charlie Hoffman and Kramer Hickok and Dylan Fratelli. Something tells me they might be close in terms of your percentages. So let's see. Dylan Fratelli, 49% chance of making the cut. Okay. Kramer Hickok is a 48.7%. Okay. And who was the last one? Charlie Hoffman, right? 50.8%. So Data Golf has these 3 at pure coin flips, but I don't know if I agree with them. So let me tell you guys why, right? These kind of players, and this is assuming a +1 cut line. So let's assume that, right? So it's going to be +2. So I think at least per their metrics, they should probably be closer to like 55%, right? Because I think it's going to be the +2 cut line. But you got to remember, it's Charlie Hoffman, it's Kramer Hickok, and it's Dylan Fratelli. These guys are at best average players for this field, if not the lower end of the field. I mean, let's be honest, right? Like Kramer Hickok hasn't done shit for like months. Charlie Hoffman is dusty at this point, right? Like he's completely old news. Dylan Fratelli hasn't played well for a while either. These kind of players, bottom half of the field guys, you're projecting for like 73 strokes. I mean, at least 72, we'll say, right? Along the lines of like a Zach Johnson. I mean, obviously, Harris English, if he's going to be at 71 and a half strokes, then you're going to be projecting these lower tier guys for potentially 72 or even 73 strokes. So for me, I think taking unders on their holes played, not the worst idea, right? It's kind of like taking a fade on strokes. Look at that. They bumped Denny midstream. Look at that. Lovely. You love to see it. Hi, lines makers. Hopefully you're having a great night. Clearly you guys aren't doing much since you're watching my live stream. They bumped up Aaron Rye too. Look at that. They bumped everyone we talked about here on stream. I guess Bazane Hoot now, but I guess I'm going to shut up about it because they're just watching the stream and bumping. So let's go over to Underdog, where I guess the lines makers aren't completely bitch made and actually have stones, unlike the guys over there at Prize Picks that apparently have ovaries and not testicles. Let's go through this though. So they have 68 and a half strokes on Sanjay and Lowry. You know, that's music to my ears, right? This is the Honda Classic. We're trying to take fades. We're trying to take guys to go out there and not play well. Count me in. Like, I know we got burned today. I'll go right back to those lines. I do not hate them whatsoever. I prefer Lowry just because he's going to be a PMT time this time around. Going to be subjected to the harsher conditions. So tentatively, let's put Shane Lowry in there for this video. Let's find a few more PMT time fades. So Sep there at 69 and a half, I don't hate. Like the whole board, I just want to put this out there. Like the whole board, you can take fades on. Like if you told me, oh, you want to fade Pendrith? Oh, you want to fade this guy? I'm going to tell you yes to everyone because the boards are priced too low. But like Denny McCarthy after shooting +5 today, right? I know I'd like him for DFS tomorrow. I think that he's capable of bouncing back, but in a 50-50 prop, you have to think that he's definitely leaning towards the over here, right? To shoot even par or worse. So, you know, you can consider taking that for an over. Let's see. What are the cumulative par 3 strokes at? Are they all 12 and a half? Are there any 12s? Well, there is a 12. So Chris Kirk over. Definitely would take that. Billy Horschel over. Would definitely take that. In Sanjay, so I think this might be the way to fade Sanjay, right? Is to take his cumulative par 3 strokes, because today, hole 15, sorry, it was hole 17, pardon me, played as easy as humanly possible. And it played 0.08 strokes over par. 15, the start of the bear trap, right, played 0.2 strokes over. And the first few par 3s, where you at? Hole 5, right, played 0.22 over. Hole 7 played 0.18 over. So in general, so that's 0.4 strokes there on the front 9 par 3s. And then on the back 9, it's another 0.27 strokes. So they played 0.67 over par, right? So they played it to an average of 12.67. So that means for guys at like 12 here in Underdog, I don't know, they push at best, right? Like, I don't know, there might be like 5 players in the entire field that play the par 3s under par tomorrow. Like literally that low of a percentage. So I think if you're taking these guys at 12, they make sense. The guys at 12 and a half, probably a little bit riskier, but there's a reason why they're at 12 and a half, right? They're the players that aren't nearly as skilled as some of the other guys on the board. But just for the sake of the video, let's go ahead and avoid Sanjay just because he is the best player in the field. But let's take Billy Ho because he's a PM wave golfer. I guess we'll avoid Chris Kirk because he's AM, right? Let's try not to push it there. Let's put both of those props in there. And let's find one more for the video here. Again, I can't give you every prop I'm going to take after we get off stream. I'm going to be doing all of my prize pick stuff, all my underdog stuff there for the write-ups. So if you're looking for all the props I'm taking, all of the fades I'm taking over there for prize picks, they will be on the Patreon. But let's find one more prop for you guys here on stream. See, are there any 2.5 birdie lines? Because they did that for round of 1 and they were moneymakers. It looks like they didn't make that mistake. Nah, they didn't. That's unfortunate. If they would have put somebody at 2.5 birdies again, I would have absolutely nuked it. I guess let's take a look at the bogey lines. Let's see if there's any at like 2 bogeys that are worth a nuke. So you had the elite tier guys up there at 2. I probably wouldn't touch that. 3.5 bogeys might actually be high for a JT Poston. We'll keep an eye on that one. Another 3.5 line, another 3 bogey line. Yeah, so they have done some adjusting over here on Underdog, I have to say. Right, the bogey line's a little bit higher than they were before, but maybe it is this Sanjay here at 2. And I know he's going off early, right? But he made 10-foot putt after 10-foot putt today to save par. That's just not going to happen all weekend. I can just tell you, it's impossible to make all those 10-foot birdie putts time and time again. So let's put the Sanjay M over 2 bogeys there. I do prefer the Shane Lowry one, right? But you got to remember, right? He's also in the card there at 68.5 strokes. So maybe we go ahead and let's take that one off there and just put the 2 bogeys in there. You can take that kind of card there too. So that's what I'm thinking over there in Underdog. Again, you get my full thoughts over there on the Patreon, but you can take all the fades you want over here in Underdog and not have to worry about it, right? You're going to get your full payout, that sort of thing. And you're not going to get any sort of penalty for it. Let's see what's going on in chat. And then we're pretty much done here. So if you have any questions, get them in now before we finish up the stream. Let's see. Yeah, you're back. Sweet. Yeah, I was waiting for you. So let's bring up your question. Aaron Wise versus Hayden Buckley, 4.6 birdies around. Yeah, Aaron Wise, an elite birdie player versus Hayden Buckley, 3.7. They're both teeing off in the afternoon. Yes, that's correct. You think the edge is worth? I do as well. So, I'm not a big birdie or better matchup guy, but when you can find somebody that's, top 15 in birdie percentage versus somebody that's outside the top 100, you have to take advantage of. You have to at least take a sprinkle, right? At least put a few shekels on it, run that direction. I like it there, Damon. I think you're onto something. And I freaking hate matchups, right? So if I'm saying a matchup's okay, it's pretty decent. M over strokes. Okay, let's take a look. So you were looking at the M over strokes. I would take it on Underdog, right? So he's at 69 on Prize Picks. Just out of principle, right? I would take it the one over there on Underdog, but I like even more this 2 bogeys prop because he has a ton of push equity there. And if he just has 1 or 2 bad holes, like let's say he has just a slightly bad day, he's easily hitting the over. Like if you don't have a fantastic round around PGA National, you're at least making 2 bogeys. Like I would say a ceiling round is almost making 2 bogeys or less. So which is what I think I prefer that prop over the strokes one there. So yeah, if you're going to play the strokes, play it on Underdog though. In matchup, he destroyed Taylor today. Okay, let's take a look. So which Taylor is it? Who is he against? How am I blanking on Taylor? There's a bunch of Taylors in the field, I'm assuming, but it's probably relatively obvious who you're talking about. It's not Taylor Montgomery, I can tell you that much. He's not on the field. Who knows? No, it's not really that important, right? But he's against Adam Svensson today. Svenny makes a bunch of birdies, but it's Sanjay M, right? He's the best player in the field. Sanjay played a lot better today. I can tell you that he looked a lot better than Svenny. Svenny had quite a few bad shots, got himself out of play quite often. Sanjay, not really so much. So, yeah, I don't love Sanjay tomorrow, but it's a 50-50 prop, and I would definitely lean on the over. Why Cam Davis? Less strokes. He missed it. So, essentially, I think he's going to play well tomorrow, right? He shot 2 over par in the really difficult conditions today. If you adjust his score for the scoring average, right, the difference between the 2 waves, he would have pushed this line. So, if you're looking at the round 1 score and that's maybe what's making you a little bit concerned there, don't be, right? He's going to be in much better conditions tomorrow morning. And if you tried to take him versus the holes played over here, there's more value in taking the under on strokes. So that's the reason why I'm taking him over there. But you could even take his overs for birdies or better. In fact, the prop that may end up making my write-up later on might be this over for birdies or better. I'm going to have to take a look at my projections because he's one of the higher birdie percentage players in the world. Like not just for this field, right? He's one of the more aggressive players in the world. And depending on where I end up having the field average for birdies in my projections, I mean, he might project for like 4 birdies. So we'll have to see. But I do like Cam Davis tomorrow. It's very likely that I have a bunch of exposure to him, whether it's for Showdown or over there for props. But yeah, definitely like it. Rye bumped, McCarthy bumped. Yep. Like I said, guys, it's bump picks, clown picks. That's for sure. Hey, and I'm banned from the Discord, so I can't even give their lines makers any flack for it. By all means, please let them know about it. Because they clearly don't like getting flack for it. They don't like getting called out for their bullshit because they went out of their way to ban me and try and slander me and all that stuff. So I don't know, right? If they're going to do that kind of clownish behavior, then razz them up for it, right? They don't like it. So y'all have no lives for watching a stream. Yeah, I like that you're calling out the lines makers down there in chat. They've got to be in here. You love the way that I fry the lines makers. Yep. And I know they're watching too, right? So I know I can just give them the little jab and they'll hear it. And that's also how I know that they watch my streams, is like the only time that I like blatantly call out the lines makers is in my content. And they were butthurt about me talking shit. So they were clearly seeing the content. That's for sure. And I know the lines maker on Underdog also watches, but the thing is, the difference is Red Mamba, the lines maker over there, actually has a set of balls, right? He doesn't act like a complete clown. He will bump props. That's kind of their job. Actually, I don't even think he does it. I think it's another team that's bumping the props. But like, just because he sees me on a prop, he's not going to go out there and bump it. Unlike Prize Picks, that I can't say that for. Like, they're actually a joke. JGA says, what should you do, Luke? Say the opposite. Think you can get better props. I've thought about it before. I'll say that much. I've thought about it, but obviously I don't want to screw any of the people that follow me. And I don't think there's a way to pull that off without screwing all of you, right? Unknowingly. So probably not something I'm going to do, to be honest. Should just make them bump everything. See, if there was a way for me to do that, Eric, and then like have you guys all not bet it, I would. But again, it's just, I don't think there's a way to pull that off. If there was, I would do it. Trust me, I've thought about it, especially after the recent debacle. GameCube says Prize Picks dues or wankers. Agreed. You guys are just talking shit. I love it. Changing 3 or 4 more lines as we chat. Yep. Pendrith. Okay. So you're saying Pendrith for strokes or Pendrith for, let's see, or pretty better matchup might be. Let me find this prop you're speaking of. Maybe you're talking on Underdog. I don't know. Because I don't think he has props over here, right? No. So he's probably an Underdog. Where are you at, Pendy? What is the prop that... And by the way, Capriccio down there is one of the brighter guys I've ever spoken to about golf stuff. So when he's trying to be urgent about me looking at a prop, I take him a lot more seriously than most people. So what prop is it, James? What are you looking at? The matchup you were talking about earlier. Gotcha. Makes sense. All right. Damon says Cam Davis should have shot a 69 today anyways. Yeah, and then he had that one lip out too. I'm not sure if you saw the video of that. It was just highway robbery. And yeah, he missed a 6, a 7, and a 3-foot putt. Not going to happen again. You've never seen lines move so much. Shit, you haven't been in the Discord then, man. They've been on this shit for like half a year at this point. The first like month or so it was happening, like I wasn't so outspoken about it because I was affiliated with Prize Picks. But after about a month and a half of it happening, you get so sick and tired of it that, you can't shill out for a company anymore, right? You're not going to hold back and sugarcoat things anymore, right? When they're being as scummy as they are. So yeah, I'm glad you guys at least see them for what they are at this point. I don't know, it's kind of messed up. Let's just say that. You like how unspecific people are. They just say a name after going over 6 other lines. Hey, it's all right, man. All right. Sometimes people just forget to throw the prop down there, right? It's all right. Jimmy says, how do you feel about Denny versus Kirk? It's a good question. Let me think about it. Denny versus Kirk matchup. Where you at, Denny? I mean, you'd have to lean the under, right? Kirk playing a lot better than Denny. In terms of your birdie percentage, both of them are relatively low birdie percentage players to begin with. So I don't know. It's kind of like a battle between 2 slapdicks there. So I don't know if I'd be putting a bunch of money on it, but yeah, you'd lean the under. He's in better form. He likes the course more than Denny. Definitely a few reasons to get there. You just won an NBA prop by 0.1 fantasy points. Talk about a sweat fest. You got to give us some of that run good, man. That's awesome. Great to hear. Hopefully there are no stat corrections. Fingers crossed you're there, buddy. Ashton says, where's the Patreon link? Great question. It's in the link of the video, the description down there. Sorry, not the link of the video. What am I saying? I sound like a complete tool bag here. Sorry. It's in the description of the video, the link that is. So sorry about that. I'm getting too ahead of myself. Like I said, too many drinks out there today, I guess. It's getting to me. Damon says, as per usual, thoughts on the pin locations? Great question. Yeah, I wanted to touch on it earlier, but I forgot. Pin locations look standard. I mean, hole 18 looks easy. It's a front middle pin. So if you're going to get home in 2, you shouldn't have an issue. It's pretty solid for wedges there. to be going there to the wedge range. But 15 is horrible. It's a front pin there on the bear trap. 17 is a back pin, which you may not think is a horrible pin location, but if you end up in that bunker on 17, you are absolutely screwed. And believe it or not, the back pins there bring in the water to the right, which you can't see on the figure. Over here to the right, this water hazard extends the whole way around the green to the right. And if you miss right, you're in the water, right? There's no way, there's nothing to stop it over there towards the back right of the green. And even if you hit a fade, let's say you hit a fade in there, and it has a little bit too much steam on it, it could easily roll off there. You can see that it looks like there's like space here. You can see like there's like, it looks like there's like 5 yards between the surface of the green and then the water. That is like a 40% grade slope. Like the ball does not stop on that. So if the ball gets over the edge of the green there on 17, it's in the water. Like there is no rough here to stop it. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit deceiving when you're looking at the pin sheet here. So 15 and 17 look literally impossible, which is why I really like the overs for those par 3 strokes. And then 5 is a back left pin. That's difficult. And 7 is about as easy as it gets, but it's still a 210-yard hole. So, you know, a front right pin that's unprotected would look great, but it's on a 200-yard par 3. So, yeah, so the par 3 locations, I guess, would be the notable ones. I mean, look, a bunch of tucked pins, right? Like 4 to 6 paces off the side. I mean, outside of the par 3s, though, and then the par 5s, I don't know if anything's massively notable. It's like hole number 3 is a par 5. It's a middle left pin. That's probably the easiest pin that they have on 3. So it's looking like they're going to reward you on the par 5s, right? 3 and 18 look like you can make a birdie pretty realistically. But these par 3s look like they're gonna beat you up. So they're taking away a little bit here for Friday. Nothing too out of the ordinary though. Let's see. And yeah, that's all we got, boys. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the stream here. We've been live for over almost an hour and a half at this point. So I told myself I was going to be live for like 30 minutes. And of course, an hour and a half again. It happens every damn time, right? I always tell myself I'm going to do these streams a little bit quicker and it never happens. So I don't know, probably never going to change, but I appreciate you guys stopping by as per usual. If you guys enjoyed the content, go ahead and smash that like button and make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, because we're going to be going live for rounds 3 and 4 too. So tomorrow night, if you thought today I was making a few mistakes, which by the way, I'm trying my best, right? I'm tired. I freaking woke up at 6 a.m. to get out there. I had a few drinks out there. We're getting a little sleepy. I'm not going to lie, but tomorrow, it's going to be another fun stream. I'm going to be out there with my buddies. Like I said, my parents, they like to have a good time out there on the golf course. So we'll have fun with the stream. We'll talk about everything you need to know for Saturday. There's a chance that the cut line doesn't get made tomorrow. So of course, play was suspended today. There's a few guys left on the course. If that's the case, we're still going to go live at night, not in the morning. But we're going to have to talk about the cut line. We're going to have to talk about players that may or may not make the cut. So, it'll be an interesting stream either way. Hopefully they finish. It would just make my life a lot easier. But until then, guys, best of luck with all of your round 2 bets, all of your round 2 lineups, and let's get this cash.